My wife, Charlotte Zhou, has severe misophobia. She's also the CEO of Zhou Holdings, and I'm her executive assistant, which means I manage her work life and her personal life. In 1 week, it'll be our 7th wedding anniversary, which also marks 10 years since we fell in love. My wife's germophobia is the real deal. She avoids physical contact at all costs. An accidental brush from a stranger will have her scrubbing her skin with an antibacterial wipe for a solid 5 minutes. Sounds extreme, I know. Before that one incident, I would have thought so too. I met her our freshman year of college. My roommate, one of my guys, was crushing hard on a girl in her dorm, and being too shy to make a move himself, a group mixer was organized. After some debate, we landed on a karaoke bar in Koreatown. Honestly, not my scene. I hate loud, crowded places. But my 3 roommates practically staged an intervention, threatening to drop out of school if I didn't come. I couldn't have that on my conscience, so I caved, lost in a chorus of their relieved, "Thanks, man, you're the best." I was still dazed when they dragged me into the place. We just settled into a booth when the door to our private room slid open and 4 girls walked in. My 3 guys immediately swarmed them, each pairing off to lay on the charm. As her friends were led away, only Charlotte Zhou was left standing awkwardly by the door, an icy, unapproachable look on her face. I felt obligated to get up. I walked over, offered a gentlemanly nod, and invited her to sit in the empty section of the booth. I watched my 3 buddies, who were now chatting animatedly with their respective targets. And it was clear they weren't just starting to pursue them. It dawned on me that I'd been set up by 3 pairs of soon-to-be lovebirds. Charlotte sat beside me, radiating a keep-your-distance vibe. To cut through the awkward silence, which was starting to drive me insane, I decided I had to say something, but when I turned to her, I found her staring at me, completely lost in thought. The moment she realized I'd noticed, she quickly looked down. In the flashing neon glow of the karaoke machine, I could swear I saw a blush creep up her cheeks. My brain short-circuited. Whoa, I'm not trying to brag, but I was basically campus heartthrob material. I was outgoing, athletic, and naturally in good shape. In my first 2 months of college, I turned down a dozen friend requests and coffee invites from upperclassmen and freshmen alike. It wasn't that I was cold or arrogant. I just hadn't felt that spark. Besides, I was raised to be a one-woman man. I kept a respectful distance from girls I wasn't interested in. Don't lead people on. It was a matter of respect, for them and for my future wife. I could already picture myself telling her, chest puffed out with pride, "See, you're the first. I saved it all for you." Wouldn't she be moved to tears? At least, that's what I imagined. But now, looking at her faintly flushed cheeks, her hands twisting nervously in her lap, something shifted. I wanted to know this girl. The deafening music and the rowdy laughter from my friends made our quiet corner feel like a different universe. Seeing her brows furrow in irritation, I guessed she disliked this place as much as I did. I pulled out my iPhone and typed a message. "It's way too loud in here. Wanna go wait for them outside?" Taking a chance, I held the screen out for her to see. She read the words carefully, glanced at her laughing friends, and then nodded. Charlotte got up and walked to the door. I went to the console and hit pause on the music, instantly silencing the room. I told the group that Charlotte and I were heading out to wait and that they should take their time. Then I pressed play again, and under 6 pairs of knowing, teasing eyes, we made our escape. Outside, the absence of noise was a physical relief. I saw Charlotte standing a few feet ahead and hurried to catch up. "There's a decent coffee shop across the street," I said. "It's quiet. We could wait for them there." She nodded, murmuring a soft, "Okay," before heading toward the elevator. Just as I was about to follow, my phone buzzed. It was a voice note from my roommate, Leo Star. Charlotte was already at the elevator bank, waiting. The indicator showed it was on the 1st floor and we were on the 4th, so I had a second. I tapped the message. A girl's voice came through the speaker. "Hey Ethan, take good care of our ice queen. Okay? Just a heads up. She's a serious germaphobe. You probably shouldn't touch her, or she'll hate you forever." I scoffed and locked my screen. The elevator dinged and the doors opened. We stepped inside, one after the other. It was empty. She stood in the back right corner. I instinctively took the front left. It was partly my habit of keeping a distance, and partly because the control panel was right there. I pressed the button for the 1st floor, then shoved my hands in my pockets and watched the numbers descend, my mind replaying the message. As we exited the building, I asked her to wait a moment. I ducked into a nearby convenience store and, on a strange impulse, bought a pack of wet wipes. I stuffed them in my pocket and rejoined her, acting as if nothing had happened. All right, let's go. It's just across the street. In the coffee shop, I pulled out a chair for her, then took out a wipe and cleaned the seat and table edge before gesturing for her to sit. Charlotte froze for a second, then said, "Thank you," and sat down. After a waitress took our coffee orders, silence fell again. I mentally kicked myself. Introductions, idiot. "Hey, I'm Ethan Shaw," I said, extending a hand before quickly retracting it. "I'm in the finance program." Charlotte shyly looked up. "I'm Charlotte Shaw, business management." She immediately looked down again, but this time, under the bright cafe lights, I saw it clearly. 2 rosy patches blooming on her cheeks. It was the first time I'd ever really studied a girl's face, and I was captivated. Her delicate, oval face was like a blossoming peach, exquisite and intoxicating. Her long hair cascaded down like a dark waterfall, and her beautiful eyes were like black pearls submerged in clear water. Looking at her, my heart began to pound. She was everything I'd ever found beautiful, hitting me right in the chest. "Wow, Mom, I think I'm in love." Wait a second. Wasn't she supposed to be an ice queen? Had she been conquered by my sheer awesomeness? And so, I started talking. I told her funny stories about my classmates, dished on my 3 roommates' messy love lives, and slowly, she began to open up, her head lifting, her words coming more easily. When I said something particularly funny, she'd cover her mouth, her eyes crinkling into beautiful crescents as she laughed. I knew right then and there that I was done for. I was going to be wrapped around her finger for the rest of my life. The dorms closed in an hour, and I figured my roommates would be wrapping things up soon. I took a deep breath and asked, "Can I take you out sometime? Just you?" I rushed to explain. "I mean, as a thank you for talking with me tonight. I had a really good time, so maybe you'd let me buy you dinner." I was fully prepared for rejection. Ice queens weren't exactly easy to ask out. "Okay," she said. "I had a really nice time too." "What?" I was so stunned I just stared at her, my shock written all over my face. My gaze made her blush again. She looked down, her voice a soft murmur. I said yes. Maybe we should exchange numbers? To make it easier to connect. A jolt of excitement shot through me. I fumbled for my phone. "Yeah, definitely. Let me scan your code." After we'd added each other on WhatsApp, we both fiddled with our phones. Her username was just Charlotte. I changed her contact name to Siren. It fit. She'd stolen my soul on day 1. Not long after, our friends stumbled out of the bar. I hailed 2 Ubers, and we made it back to the dorms with 5 minutes to spare before lockdown. Lying in bed, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Charlotte smile, the way her eyes lit up when she laughed. Frustrated, I grabbed my phone and went out to the balcony, lighting a cigarette and taking a long drag. I stared at the chat window with Siren on the screen. I wrestled with myself for a long time before finally giving in and typing, "Are you free tomorrow? I'd like to treat you to a great meal." She replied instantly, "I am. Text me after class." The next day, I booked a table at a nice restaurant and went to a flower shop to buy a huge bouquet of pink roses. At the restaurant, she accepted the flowers with a radiant smile, bringing them to her nose to inhale their scent. She looked up at me. "So, Ethan, are you trying to win me over?" I didn't play games. I just nodded. She laughed, a delightful, tinkling sound. "Well, you're going to have to try very hard." Dinner was wonderful, but every time she leaned forward to eat, her long hair would fall into her face, forcing her to use one hand to hold it back while she brought food to her mouth with the other. After that first date, I started asking her out frequently, and from that day on, I always wore a hair tie on my wrist. Every time we sat down to eat, I'd hand it to her so she could tie back her rebellious hair. When we were done, she'd give it back to me. She told me to keep it on my wrist so it would always be ready for her. At the time, I didn't know that a guy wearing a hair tie on his wrist was a universal sign that he had a girlfriend. Her first time treating me to dinner was near the end of our first semester, just before winter break. I was in my dorm, packing a few things to take home. Not that I had much to pack. My family lived in the city, but I'd opted for the dorms to escape my mom's constant nagging. I was about to put the last shirt in my suitcase when a message from Charlotte came through. "You've treated me so many times. Before we leave for break, it's my turn. I'm waiting for you at the Midnight Garden." I was ecstatic. I abandoned my packing, grabbed the hair tie, a pack of wipes, my cigarettes, and my phone. I saw a decorative hairpin on my desk and hesitated for a second before pocketing it too. Better to be prepared. The Midnight Garden was an upscale restaurant not far from campus. As soon as I walked in, Charlotte spotted me and waved. I smiled and waved back, but as I got closer, I saw two other girls sitting across from her. Her friends, I presumed. I felt a pang of awkwardness, like I'd been caught doing something wrong. Seeing me hesitate, Charlotte patted the empty seat beside her. Sit down. You're not the waiter. Why are you just standing there? Oh, right. Okay. My awkwardness level shot up. It was a booth with seats facing each other. I perched on the very edge of the sofa. After the waiter took our orders, the three of them launched into a lively conversation. I'd barely spoken to any girls besides Charlotte, so I just sat quietly and watched them talk. Thankfully, the food arrived quickly. I reflexively took the hair tie off my wrist and offered it to her. She glanced at it, then picked up her knife and fork, turning her back to me. My hands are full. Can you help me? I froze, the hair tie in my hand. I wanted to help, of course, but that meant touching her. What if I accidentally brushed against her skin and she got that unhappy look? I'd seen it happen before. We were getting bubble tea once, and the cashier accidentally touched the back of her hand. Charlotte had frowned and scrubbed the spot with a wipe for what felt like an eternity. Seeing my hesitation, she prompted, "Hurry up, the food's getting cold." To hell with it, steeling myself. I carefully gathered her silky hair and secured it with the tie. I let go, and she turned back around, shaking her head slightly. But because of the large hood on her sweatshirt, her hair slipped forward again. She gave me an innocent, helpless look. I sighed and motioned for her to turn around again. I took off the hair tie, pulled out the hairpin from my pocket, and expertly twisted her hair into an elegant bun, securing it firmly. I patted it once to make sure it would hold. She reached up, touching the bun, and her face lit up. "You know how to do this? Quick, take a picture, I want to see." I used my phone to snap a photo of the back of her head and showed it to her. Her eyes sparkled. She gushed about how good it looked and how beautiful the hairpin was. Her friends chimed in, praising my skills and my taste. I breathed a sigh of relief. While she was admiring the picture, I switched her uncut steak with the one I had just finished slicing for her. She smiled sweetly and said, "Thank you." The rest of the meal passed with them chatting and me chiming in with a smile whenever I was mentioned. After we finished, her friends left to go shopping. Under her threat of, "If you don't let me pay, I'm never going out with you again," I surrendered and let her settle the bill. It was a cold New York winter. We bundled up in our scarves before stepping outside. Soft snowflakes were beginning to fall. She pulled up the hood of her coat and invited me for a walk, an offer I gladly accepted. We strolled down the street, making small talk. A question suddenly popped into my head. "Charlie, why does everyone call you an ice queen? I get the queen part, but you don't seem very icy to me." It was true. On campus, anyone who mentioned Charlotte Jo said she was cold and hard to get to know. But the Charlotte I knew, apart from that first night at the karaoke bar, was almost always smiling, sometimes even blushing. She was nothing like an ice queen. Charlotte tilted her head, thinking, "A lot of guys tried to ask me out in high school," she explained. I wasn't interested in any of them, but as soon as I turned one down, another one would confess his feelings. It was exhausting. So, in college, I decided to put on a cold front. And it worked. Things have been much quieter. So that's why. I couldn't hide the massive grin spreading across my face. I was one step away from doing a victory dance right there on the sidewalk. Her answer had a deeper meaning, didn't it? She actively rejected guys she didn't like and put up a wall to keep others away. But when I told her I wanted to pursue her on our very first date, she told me to try hard. I'd been getting closer and closer to her, and tonight, I'd even put her hair up for her. Did that mean she liked me too? After all this time together, I realized my feelings for her went far beyond her looks. Her values mirrored mine, and I loved her personality. I stepped in front of her, stopping her in her tracks. I reached into my coat, pulled out the necklace I always wore, and unclasped the ring that hung from it. Holding it out, I dropped to one knee. "Charlie, I've liked you since the moment I first saw you. I'll admit, at first it was about how beautiful you are. But as I've gotten to know you, I've fallen for your personality, your smile. Every single second I spend with you makes me happy. I don't know if I'm worthy of the honor, but will you be my girlfriend?" I looked into her eyes, the hand holding the ring trembling slightly with nerves. Charlotte reached out and gently brushed the snow from my hair. Then she took the ring from my hand, closing it in her palm. She leaned down, her eyes meeting mine with a profound seriousness. "I'll be your girlfriend," she said. But this is a little sudden, a little informal. I'll keep the ring for now. You can put it on my finger when you're ready to do it properly next time. She straightened up. I said yes. Aren't you going to get up, my boy friend? Hearing her say yes was pure bliss. I placed my right hand over my heart and bowed my head in a knightly gesture. As you command, Your Highness, my girlfriend. Charlie came to me and linked her arm through mine. My first instinct was to pull away. Your misophobia. She just tightened her grip. We have coats on, it's fine. Besides. She paused. When it comes to you, my misophobia, both psychologically and physically, doesn't seem to exist. What, you don't like me being close? Or is there something wrong with you? No, I'm not. Don't say that. I stammered. I was just worried you wouldn't be comfortable. As long as you're okay with it. Hell, if you wanted to sleep with me right now, I'd have my clothes off in under a minute, or my name isn't Ethan Shaw. Charlotte burst out laughing. You want me to sleep with you? You'll have to work for it. You're still on probation, you know. Not a full-time employee yet. We'll talk after you've earned your promotion. If I'm in a good mood, maybe I'll summon you to my chambers. Understood, my lady. And just like that, teasing and laughing, we walked back toward campus. At the entrance to her dorm, I reached out and brushed the snowflakes from her hood. To be covered in the same snow today means we'll grow old with white hair together. She rolled her eyes at me. So many cheesy lines. You're only a freshman and you're already thinking about forever. I rolled my eyes back. Woman, you have no appreciation for romance. She raised a small fist, pretending she was going to hit me. I immediately threw my hands up in surrender. I'm sorry. My Charlie is the most romantic, a goddess of romance. You're impossible, she said, smiling. Then she told me she was going home tomorrow and wouldn't be back until the new semester started. Before heading upstairs, she made me promise to keep my phone on 24/7 and to think of her. Of course I would think of her. During the break, we were constantly in touch, sharing funny stories and complaining about our families. Time flew, and soon the new semester began. As the saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And we were more inseparable than ever. The campus confession pages were flooded with pictures of us together, much to the chagrin of our secret admirers. Before we knew it, it was April, a very special day, because it was Charlie's birthday. That evening, after a lively celebration with a group of friends, it was finally just the two of us, walking hand in hand through an amusement park. Ethan, Charlie said, suddenly stopping and putting her hands on her hips, her lower lip pushed out in a pout. It's your girlfriend's birthday today, and you haven't done a single thing. I'm not happy. Oh, baby, don't be mad, I pleaded, clasping my hands together. I've just been so busy, it must have slipped my mind. How about we just ride the Ferris wheel tonight to make up for it, and I'll get you a proper gift tomorrow. Please. I don't know how you do it, she sighed. So busy you forget your own girlfriend's birthday. Humph. I stroked her hair. I promise, this is the last time. Stroking her hair and her linking her arm with mine were the limits of our physical contact so far. Not because she'd forbidden more, but because I was too cautious to try. Every time I saw her frown and pull out a wipe after an accidental touch, my heart ached. Fine, she relented. I'll forgive you this time. You should be grateful for my boundless mercy. She linked her arm through mine again and started walking toward the Ferris wheel, but I still caught a flicker of disappointment on her face. New York in April is still cool at night, so we were both wearing hoodies, and I felt safe letting her hold onto my arm. How could I forget her birthday? The surprise was just around the next corner. As we rounded the corner, a handsome man walked toward us holding a single red rose. He stopped in front of us, handed the rose to me and said to Charlie, Happy birthday, Ms. Joe. I hope every day is filled with happiness, and that you and Mr. Shaw have a long and blissful future together. Then he walked past us. I took Charlie's purse from her and placed the rose in her hand. Her eyes lit up. You planned this? Is it just the one? I didn't answer, simply gesturing forward with a flourish. All the way to the Ferris wheel, at regular intervals, someone would appear to hand her another rose, each with their own improvised birthday wish. By the time we reached the Ferris wheel, her arms and mine were overflowing with roses. She stood before me, her face alight with pure happiness. I knew you wouldn't forget. You're the most thoughtful person I know. How many are there? I handed my bundle of roses to an attendant and then took hers for another. Don't you remember what the first person said to you? I asked with a smile. She thought for a moment, her hands flying to her mouth in surprise. There aren't 99, are there? I nodded and offered her my arm. Come on. Time for the next part. She took my arm, and we stepped into one of the Ferris wheel's private cabins. The door closed, and the machine began to turn. She asked excitedly when I had planned all this. I told her I'd started a week ago. Her eyes filled with happiness again, and she gently rested her head on my shoulder. When our cabin reached the very top, the Ferris wheel paused. Charlie stared out at the glittering cityscape, her eyes sparkling. It's so beautiful. I've never seen the city like this before. All those lights. It feels so warm. I stood behind her, my voice filled with conviction. Among all those lights, I promise you, one day, one of them will belong to us. I checked my watch. It was time. Are you ready? There's something even more beautiful. As the words left my mouth, a series of bangs echoed through the air, followed by a cascade of brilliant fireworks. The night sky became a canvas, painted with dazzling, ephemeral masterpieces. After a moment, she noticed I was no longer standing behind her. She turned around to find me on one knee again, holding a small, open ring box that revealed a sparkling diamond ring. Charlotte Cho. I began, my voice nearly a shout over the exploding fireworks. I know this might be a little early, but I have to say it. You're the person I want to show off to the whole world, but also the one I'm too selfish to share with anyone. To the world, you may be one person, but to me, you are the entire world. The thought of spending the rest of my life with you fills me with so much hope. I know your misophobia keeps us from being closer, but I will always be the knight who protects you. So, will you marry me? The fireworks continued to burst around us. Charlie just watched me, a smile spreading across her face, which slowly turned to tears glistening in her eyes. She held out her right hand. I took the ring and carefully slid it onto her middle finger. After she helped me to my feet, she looked at the ring on her hand and brought it to her lips for a gentle kiss. Then, she reached into her purse and pulled out another ring box. Inside were 2 rings, a men's diamond band and the simple ring I had given her when I first asked her out. She took out the men's band and put the box away. She took my hand and slid the ring onto my finger. I was still in shock as she wrapped her arms around my waist and hugged me tightly. You are my knight, she whispered. This is your medal. You are my future husband. This means you are my chosen one, my only one. Misophobia can't stand between us. She pulled back, looked up at me and closed her eyes. I came back to my senses. Looking at her beautiful face, I swallowed hard. The feast was served. There was no way I wasn't partaking. I leaned in and pressed my lips to hers. I felt her body, tense at first, slowly relax in my arms, and I held her steady. We only pulled apart when the Ferris wheel started moving again. In the light of the last exploding firework, I saw her face, flushed and lovely. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. She shyly burrowed deeper into my embrace. We stood there, holding each other in silence, neither of us wanting to break the sweet spell. Hand in hand, we left the cabin. An attendant handed us the roses, now beautifully bundled together. Later, in a hotel room, I lay on the bed, staring at the bouquet on the nightstand, listening to the sound of Charlie showering in the bathroom. It all felt surreal. After leaving the park, we'd realized the dorms were locked, so we'd ended up here. 20 years of my life, and this was the first time I was about to share a bed with a girl, the girl I loved. I was a bundle of nerves and excitement. Just as I was lost in thought, Charlie emerged from the bathroom wrapped in nothing but a towel. The sound pulled me from my reverie, and I stared, completely mesmerized. Her skin was like porcelain, large swaths of it exposed. Her arms crossed over her chest. Seeing my expression, she hurried to the bed, dove under the covers, and poked just her head out. You'd better wipe that drool off your face. I instinctively wiped my chin. It was dry. She'd tricked me. She giggled. A cascade of happy sounds. Oh, she thinks she's funny. With a flick of my wrist, I shut off the lights and moved toward her, sliding my arm under her neck to rest on her shoulder. I had planned to just hold her while we slept, but then, after a brief moment of stiffness, Charlie wrapped her arms around me, pulling me closer. She whispered in my ear, Ethan, you'll love me forever and ever, right? I tightened my embrace, my voice serious. I will always, always love you. If our love is separated by mountains and seas, I will tear down the mountains and part the seas. As your knight, I will always protect you. Ethan, you promised. No matter who we become, what our status is, or who tries to stand in our way, we will always choose each other. Because I really, really love you. And you're the only one who makes the misophobia go away. Charlie, I promise you, no matter who you are, you're the only one for me, for the rest of my life. I will never let you down. With that, my hands and feet began to wander. We were both new to this. A moment later, with a soft cry of pain from Charlie, her body and soul became mine. The next day, we woke up around noon, looking at the beautiful woman in my arms. I couldn't resist leaning in for a kiss. Time to get up. It's almost lunchtime. You must be starving. It seemed that last night had washed away some of her shyness. She sat up without a second thought, unconcerned with the beautiful sight she presented. Ow, that hurts. She winced. I jolted up. What's wrong? She poked me playfully. It's all your fault? She scolded, a smile playing on her lips. It was my first time, and you had no idea how to be gentle. Humph. I apologized profusely, telling her to rest a little longer. I took her phone. You're in no condition to go back to campus today. Let's stay another day. I'll text Ashley and have her tell your professor you're sick for tomorrow's morning class. I'll go downstairs and get us some food and extend the room. What's your passcode? After she told me, I sent the text to her roommate, who replied with a quick, okay. I handed the phone back. As I got dressed, I asked, what do you feel like eating? I'll go get it. You just stay here and rest. I jotted down her order and headed out, extending our stay at the front desk before going to get takeout. After lunch, we took a short nap. That evening, Charlie insisted on going for a walk, complaining she'd been cooped up all day. I couldn't say no, so we went out. We found a restaurant for dinner. Afterward, as we were strolling down the street, an idea seemed to strike her. Ethan, let's make it official. Okay, I said, putting my arm around her as I raised my phone with my free hand. She pulled my arm down, intertwining her fingers with mine so our hands, both adorned with our new rings, were the focus. Head closer, she directed. Phone higher. Under her command, our first official photo as an engaged couple was taken. She sent it to me, and we posted it to our Instagram feeds simultaneously. Image of their intertwined hands with rings caption. Officially mine. Isn't he handsome? Mr. Shaw. For the rest of my life, I'm in your care. Image of their intertwined hands with rings caption. Officially mine. Isn't she beautiful? Ms. Zhou. For the rest of my life, I'm in your care. Minutes after posting, our phones started blowing up. Our parents were demanding to meet their future son and daughter-in-law. We talked it over and decided to wait until after graduation for formal introductions. Charlie pointed out that I wasn't even legal marriage age yet. 22 for men, 20 for women in the original context. Let's just say we were young. After graduation, I'd be old enough. If our parents didn't approve, she joked she'd steal her family's documents and we'd elope. I assured her my future in-laws would love me and told her not to worry. Time flew by in a blur of classes and late-night study sessions. Soon, our junior year was over, and it was time for our senior year internships. Charlie told me she was interning at Zhou Holdings, her family's publicly traded company in New York, and asked me to join her. When I told her I was interning at Eastman Enterprises, she dropped it. While Zhou Holdings was a top 10 firm in the city, it was still a step below Eastman, which was second only to the behemoth Shaw Industries. A quick Google Maps search showed our offices were only 5 or 6 subway stops apart. So we decided to get our own place. We were going to live together. Although we'd spent plenty of nights together since that first time, the idea of truly living together was thrilling. It was in the small, everyday moments that you either grew inseparable or grew apart. We were both confident it would be the former. Sometimes, it felt like we were two halves of the same soul. We found the perfect apartment in a high-end building next to a park. The layout was great, with lots of natural light, and it came fully furnished. We paid a year's rent up front and moved in that day. The previous owner was clearly meticulous, as the place was spotless, but we still did a light cleaning. With our internships starting the next day, we didn't overdo it and turned in early. Standing in front of the Eastman Enterprises building, I couldn't help but marvel at how fast time had passed. The last time I was here, I was in 6th grade. I was bored during summer break, and my older brother, who was interning here, had brought me along for a day. As for why both of us ended up interning here, I should probably explain. My name is Ethan Shaw. My father is the chairman of Eastman Enterprises. He has 2 sons. My brother and I are half-brothers. His mother passed away in a car accident when he was 3. My father later married my mother, and I came along. My brother is a full 10 years older than me, but we're close. There was never any drama about inheritance or succession. That's because my last name is Shaw, as in Shaw Industries, the #1 corporation in New York. My maternal grandfather passed away early, leaving Shaw Industries to his children, my mother and my uncle. But my uncle died of an illness before he could marry, leaving my grandparents with no male heir to carry the family name. His dying wish was that my mother's child must be named Shaw to continue the family line. Shaw Industries was temporarily managed by my mother, with the understanding that it would pass to me after I married. So, yeah, my net worth is pretty substantial. For my safety, very few people know my true identity. I hadn't told Charlie, either. I didn't know her family background, and I didn't want people accusing her of being a gold digger. My plan was to help her start her own company after her internship so she could build her own success, silencing any potential critics. I was lounging on the couch in the vice president's office, texting with Charlie. Oh right, my internship title was vice president. I didn't have to do much unless my brother, the president, or my dad, the chairman, gave me a task. Charlie texted that she was doing well at her company. Her colleagues were nice, but she sensed a few of the old-timers might give her trouble. The thought of someone messing with my girl made my blood boil. I was about to make a call to give Zhou Holdings stock a little dip into the red, but she sent another message saying she could handle it. I backed off, telling her to let me know if she was being bullied, that I had ways to help. She sent back a cute, okay, sticker. Just then, my brother walked in and plopped down next to me. Texting your girl? Yup. What's up? It's been this long and you haven't brought her home to meet us? The time's not right. From the looks of it, you haven't told her who you are, have you? Nope. With our family's wealth, I'm afraid she'll think I'm some kind of liar. My brother chuckled. That's fair. There aren't many people in New York richer than you. Dad and I are basically just riding your coattails. He paused. So, I take it you don't know who she is either? From the sound of it, you do? I don't, but your sister-in-law does. She recognized her the first time you posted that picture on Instagram. Then why didn't you say anything? She hasn't told you herself. Isn't it more fun to find out on your own? Anyway, this weekend, we're all having dinner at Lucille. Dad has a surprise for you. He didn't even give me a chance to refuse before he slipped out of the room. After he left, I lay on the couch, mulling over our conversation. First, my family knew who Charlotte was but hadn't told me, and they were planning a surprise. Second, from my brother's tone, it was clear they'd already accepted her as their daughter-in-law. Third, my brother and sister-in-law's marriage was arranged, but they were happy and had given me a wonderful little niece. To be in a position for an arranged marriage with Eastman Enterprises, her family had to be prominent. If my sister-in-law recognized Charlotte, she must be from the same elite circle. I looked down at the diamond ring on my finger. I should have guessed. What normal college student could casually buy a diamond ring? Then I remembered Charlotte was interning at Zhou Holdings. I could get a job at Eastman because it was my family's company. Her last name was also Zhou. Could a relative be a senior executive there? Or, to be more daring, was she the CEO's daughter? It wouldn't be hard to find out. A simple background check would do it. But I trusted Charlotte. She would tell me when she was ready. Pushing the thoughts aside, I lit a cigarette and picked a random financial report from the stack my mother had sent over that morning. At 4:30 p.m., I tossed the file aside, grabbed my phone and cigarettes, and got up to leave. Yeah, I was leaving early on my first day. The perks of the position. I stopped by the market to pick up some of Charlie's favorite ingredients and headed home to cook. When she walked in around 5:30, I was just placing the last dish on the table. A simple 2-dish meal with soup. Any more would be a waste, something our shared values couldn't tolerate. After dinner, I sat on the couch, scrolling through the group chat with our old dorm mates. Everyone but me and Charlie was sharing stories about their internships. Charlie was lying with her head in my lap, looking at the same chat. She typed something several times, then deleted it. Finally, she tossed her phone aside, sat up on my lap, and wrapped her arms around my neck, pouting. Ethan, my dad wants me to have dinner with the family this weekend. I don't want to go, but he said I'll regret it if I don't. She buried her head in my chest. What should I do? I just want to spend my evenings with you. Her eyes suddenly lit up. Hey, why don't you come with me? He has to meet you sooner or later. I held her close. I can't, babe. As much as I'd love to, my family scheduled a mandatory dinner for the exact same day. I sighed. I'll try to finish up early and come pick you up. That weekend, my brother skipped out of work at 3 p.m. leaving me in charge of the president's office. After reminding me not to forget about dinner, he was gone. I had just lit a cigarette when his secretary walked in with a stack of documents. She didn't seem surprised to see me in the president's chair. She selected a file, opened it on the desk in front of me, and said, "Mr. Shaw, this needs your signature here and here." I looked up at her. "My signature?" "Yes, Mr. Eastman said you have full authority to sign in his place." She replied with a professional smile. I couldn't take this lightly. I immediately started reading through the documents. Only signing after confirming everything was in order. By the time I signed the last one, I thanked the secretary for her hard work. She smiled, said it was her job, and left with the files. Damn, it was already 6 o'clock. I rubbed my temples. Being a leader was exhausting. Just as I was about to light another cigarette, my brother called. "Are you here yet? You've got some nerve. You dumped a mountain of files on me. I just finished signing them." "Just finished? I already reviewed all of them. All you had to do was sign. What took so long? If you reviewed them, why didn't you just sign them yourself? You made me read through everything all over again. Hey, you've been at the company for a few days. I wanted you to feel involved." "Oh, thank you so much for that. Whatever, just get over here. Everyone's arrived. We're just waiting for you." I hung up, grabbed my things, and bolted out of the office. I took the car my brother had left for me and sped towards Lucille. After parking, I pushed open the door to the private dining room and froze. The table was massive, and it was packed. My parents, my brother and his wife, my uncle's family. Everyone was there, and there was another group of people I didn't recognize. No, wait, I recognized one of them. Charlotte Zhou. What was she doing here? When Charlotte saw me walk in, she froze for a second before running over and grabbing my hand. "How did you know I was here?" She whispered urgently. "You're just in time. These people I don't know keep saying the weirdest things about how I'm a perfect match for their son, or their brother, or whatever. Ethan, you have to believe me. I haven't done anything to betray you. And my dad is just playing along, even calling them in-laws. Come on, I need to set them straight. You're my boyfriend." Before I could say a word, she dragged me to the head of the table. "Dad, Mom, all you uncles, aunts, and cousins, let me introduce you to someone. This is my boyfriend. We've been together for over 3 years." She then turned to my parents. "I'm sorry, everyone, but I have a boyfriend, and he's the only one for me. So please stop saying such suggestive things about me and your sons. I don't want my boyfriend to get the wrong idea. Thank you." She finished by pulling me into a deep bow. My family just sat there, smiling, watching the show. The people I didn't know were also silent, just looking at me. I was about to explain when I felt a tug on my pant leg. I looked down. My little niece was holding onto my pants with one hand and reaching up with the other. Her voice a sweet, soft lilt. "Uncle Ethan, can you hold me?" I knelt and lifted the little girl into my arms. Her tiny finger pointed at Charlotte. "Uncle Ethan, is that your wife? She's so pretty." "Not yet, but she will be soon," I explained patiently. I looked up and saw Charlotte staring at me with an expression that screamed, "I need an explanation, now." I took Charlotte's hand and walked her over to my parents, introducing all the relatives at the table. As she heard who they were, Charlotte's mouth fell open in astonishment. After returning my niece to my sister-in-law, I led a still-dazed Charlotte to the middle-aged couple I didn't recognize. "Sir, ma'am, hello, I'm Ethan Shaw, Charlotte's boyfriend. I wasn't aware I'd be meeting you both tonight, so I apologize for not coming prepared," I said, bowing respectfully. Charlotte's mother quickly helped me up, her face beaming. "Oh, Ethan, don't be a stranger. Your father and I are old friends. We've known about you and Charlotte since you first posted that picture on Instagram. Today is just the official meeting. Charlotte, what are you standing there for? Help Ethan find a seat." "Oh, right," Charlotte mumbled, snapping out of her stupor. She led me to a seat next to my sister-in-law, shooting me a resentful look. I shrugged helplessly. I had no idea this was happening either. "Well, old friend," my father began. "The two kids are so good together. We absolutely adore Charlotte. Why don't we set the wedding date today?" Ha ha ha. Charlotte's father was just as enthusiastic. "My friend, we've spoiled this girl rotten. Only a fine young man like Ethan can handle her. I've been telling her for ages to bring him home. Seeing him today, he's truly an exceptional man. We can rest easy knowing Charlotte is in his hands. You pick a date. We have no objections." The two sides spent the rest of the meal praising each other's children. Charlotte and I just sat there, smiling awkwardly, unable to get a word in. Both fathers had quite a bit to drink, and I even saw my mother and Charlotte's mother clinking glasses a few times. In the end, a wedding date was set, Charlotte's birthday. After making sure both sets of parents got home safely, we finally returned to our own apartment. The moment we were inside, my fiancée pinned me against the wall, her expression anything but friendly. Well, my dear Ethan is quite the modest one, isn't he? The sole heir to Shaw Industries, the second son of Eastman Enterprises. And he's my fiancé. And here I was, worried sick that people would say you were a freeloader living off me. It seems it's me who's marrying up. I chuckled and pinched her cheek. And my dear fiancée isn't so simple herself, is she? The little princess of Zhou Holdings, hiding in plain sight. I was about to start a whole new company just for you. And it turns out my dear fiancé was just playing humble. Charlotte slapped my hand away. Humph, I don't care. You promised me that night. No matter who we were, we'd always be together. I swept her up into my arms, carried her to the bedroom, and laid her on the bed. I lay down beside her, propping my head up with one hand. The last secret is out. Now there's nothing that can stop us from being together, my fiancé. Hee, you're right. That's a relief, she said. From now on, let's just be honest with each other. Hiding things is too exhausting. I began to unbutton her shirt, agreeing with every word. In the following weeks, we chose a house together. The renovations alone took 3 months. I designed the interior entirely to Charlotte's taste. When we finally moved in, I saw the uncontainable joy in her eyes, and I, too, was filled with anticipation for our future home. At the start of what would have been our senior year, Charlotte and I graduated early. Our 2 dorm groups got together one last time. When they heard Charlotte and I were already engaged, they showered us with congratulations and demanded to be our groomsmen and bridesmaids. We happily agreed. April came again. It was Charlotte's birthday, and also our wedding day. The news of our wedding had been publicized for a month, with headlines like, Eastman heir and Zhou heiress to wed, splashed across every major news outlet. As a result, the turnout was massive. After all, with 2 of New York's most prominent families joining forces, everyone wanted to be seen. We opted for a classic, grand American wedding at a historic estate. I stood at the altar in a bespoke tuxedo, watching the incredible procession. It was a fairy tale come to life. In the distance, classical music swelled as a vintage Rolls-Royce pulled up, signifying a union of significance and style. My 3 roommates, my guys, were my groomsmen, looking sharp in matching tuxedos. As the music shifted, the doors opened. Charlotte's 3 roommates were her bridesmaids. 2 of them walked ahead, scattering petals down the aisle, while the third served as her maid of honor, adjusting the long train of her gown. Then, I saw her, my bride, in a stunning designer gown, a radiant smile on her face, holding a delicate bouquet. Her father walked her down the aisle. Our parents and in-laws were seated in the front row. The ceremony was beautiful. After we exchanged vows and rings, the officiant declared, "You may now kiss the bride." With the formalities over, I took Charlotte's hand, and we began to greet our guests at the reception. The event was swarming with reporters and social media influencers, live-streaming our wedding to the world. It quickly became a trending topic online. Wow, this is the wedding of the century. So lavish. If my wedding was like this, I'd marry a 60-year-old geezer and be happy. The thirst in that comment is palpable. That night, back in our new home, I carried Charlotte upstairs. After helping her out of her wedding dress, I tucked her into bed. She'd had a fair amount to drink and was a little dizzy, but she was compliant, not fidgeting. I went downstairs to make her a remedy to sober her up. When I came back up, she was leaning against the headboard, scrolling on her phone. Seeing me, she tossed her phone aside and pouted for a kiss. "Kisses in a minute. Drink this first, and maybe less alcohol next time," I said gently. Charlotte took the glass and downed it in one go. Hearing my comment, she set the glass aside and put her hands on her hips. "This is your fault. You can hold your liquor, but you insisted on telling everyone you're allergic to alcohol. I couldn't exactly call you out, so I had to drink all those toasts with our relatives. Besides, we finally got married today. I'm happy, he." I stroked her head affectionately. "If I got drunk, who would take care of you? Since I've been with you, I haven't touched a drop. I'm afraid if I'm drunk and something happens to you, I won't be able to help. Because of you, I need my mind to be sharp at all times." Hearing this, Charlotte wrapped her arms around me and kissed my cheek. Thank you, honey, for always putting me first. From now on, I won't drink either. I'll be just like my husband. She then playfully hooked a finger under my chin. It's our wedding night. Surely my dear husband doesn't plan on just sitting here with me all night. Patience, my lady. Your knight must first remove his armor. The next day, after a visit to her parents, we began our month-long honeymoon in the Maldives. Upon our return, while Charlotte was in the shower, I called my dad. Yeah, Dad, I'm not going to Eastman. My brother is more than capable of running it. I'm planning to help Charlie take full control of Zhou Holdings. It's not a one-woman show over there yet. My father agreed. Then I called my mother. I was supposed to take over Shaw Industries after getting married. But now I had decided to help Charlie, so I asked my mother to hold down the fort a little longer. I promised her that once Charlie and I had a child, she could retire. After hanging up, Charlie walked in. Honey, I've been disowned by my family. I'm unemployed now, I said dramatically. Charlie came over, sat on my lap, and wrapped her arms around my neck. That's great, she said with a grin. You can be a house husband, and I'll be the breadwinner. I widened my eyes in mock horror. You want me to be a kept man? I can't do that. Wait, are you hiring an assistant? That way, I can live off you with a clear conscience. Charlotte tilted her head, pretending to think. You know, I am looking for an assistant, Mr. Shaw. From now on, you're in charge of my work and my life. Let's get to work. I feigned confusion. Work? Now? It's so late, you still have work to do. Mr. Assistant, you need to understand your job is different from others. You have multiple assistant roles, and personal assistant is the most important. And personal, of course, includes our personal life. That's a job only you can do. Now, time for some overtime. And so began my life as the CEO's assistant. I'd wake my CEO wife on time, prepare breakfast, then go back upstairs to find her still in bed. I'd have to force her awake, carry her to the bathroom, hand her a toothbrush with toothpaste already on it, and then go pick out her outfit for the day. After we ate, she'd go upstairs to change and do her makeup while I cleaned the kitchen. Once she was ready, we'd leave for work together, hand in hand. I'd always open her car door first, wait for her to get in, close it, and then get into the driver's seat. In the car, Charlotte would kiss me and tell me how satisfied she was with her new assistant. I'd gently tweak her nose and say that her happiness was all that mattered. The moment we entered the company building, Charlotte's face would turn to ice. She'd give curt nods in response to employee greetings. Once we were in her office with the door closed, she'd let out a long sigh of relief. I'd laugh and ask her why she had to revert to her Ice Queen persona. She'd say it was to establish her authority as CEO and told me not to blow her cover. Over time, I got used to Charlotte's two-faced act. After starting, I used my position to quickly understand the company's internal structure. My father-in-law held 59% of the shares, making him the chairman. The remaining shares were scattered among 4 vice presidents. 3 of them had bought in later and were the ones constantly trying to undermine Charlotte, hoping she'd make a mistake that would reflect badly on her father, allowing them to seize control. The 4th VP was a co-founder who had started the company with my father-in-law. He held 10% of the shares, didn't meddle in company affairs, and was essentially retired, living off his dividends. With this knowledge, I set my plan in motion. I had people dig up dirt on the 3 troublemakers. Soon, evidence of their embezzlement and tax evasion came to light. I presented them with the files and demanded they sell me all their shares in Zhou Holdings. Cornered, they had no choice but to sign the share transfer agreements. When I handed the documents to Charlotte, her mouth formed a perfect O. It was adorable. Now, my father-in-law held 90% of the shares. Zhou Holdings was firmly back in their hands. When the 4th VP heard what happened, he voluntarily resigned and unconditionally transferred 5% of his shares to us. My father-in-law didn't pursue the remaining 5%, a nod to their old friendship. That night, my father-in-law booked an entire floor of a hotel for a grand celebration. He was in high spirits, announcing that Charlotte was officially taking over as CEO and revealing several new partnership projects with Eastman Enterprises. He left the stage to thunderous applause. After he left, all eyes were on Charlotte. People flocked to congratulate her. She responded to each one, though a smile would have been a nice touch. Partway through, Charlotte excused herself to go to the restroom. I stepped out onto the balcony for a smoke. Not being a fan of these formal events, because of Charlotte's misophobia, I rarely got the chance to smoke. I was enjoying the moment when a stunning, scantily clad woman sidled up to me. All alone, handsome? I turned to look at her. I didn't recognize her. Are you enjoying the view? She purred. I am, I said flatly. But it has nothing to do with you. Do you want it? I do. Is that really an option? The woman let out a sultry laugh. Of course. Tell me, what is it you want? My expression turned serious. I want to solve world hunger. Can you do that? She was taken aback but recovered with an awkward laugh. Well, I'll do my part. But with no one around, how about we talk about something a little more sensitive? Sure. What are your thoughts on the current state of geopolitical affairs? Oh, come on. Not that kind of sensitive. Oh, my political views are also quite sensitive. We can talk about those if you like. The woman's smile twitched. She looked like she wanted to leave, but couldn't bear to give up on the handsome guy in front of her. She tried again. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the hardest thing about you. The unwavering strength of our nation's economy. A strong economy is good. So, would you be willing to be my slave? There is no slavery in this country. Then will you let me ride you? No. Seriously? I have money, I have looks, and you're still turning me down? What will you accept? At that, I turned to face south. My eyes filled with a steely resolve as I replied, Justice for all. Just then, Charlotte walked over and linked her arm through mine. Ma'am, please don't make things difficult for him. His heart only has room for his country. I may not be as glamorous or as wealthy as you, but I will always support my man. I looked at Charlotte and had only one thought. Whatever brand of passive-aggressive drama queen you're channeling, please get off my wife's body. Ignoring the woman's stunned expression, I turned and led Charlotte away. As we walked, I couldn't help but remark, Nice acting, honey. Charlotte pouted. What was I supposed to do? My husband is just too charming. I had to resort to drastic measures. Oh, that was a good one. The look on her face was priceless. I'll have to remember that. 2 years flew by. Under our joint leadership, Zhou Holdings grew exponentially, closing the gap with Eastman Enterprises. Everyone in the company knew not to mess with the CEO's assistant. During this time, we decided to try for a baby, and now Charlotte was 4 months pregnant. Under pressure from the entire family, Charlotte started her maternity leave, spending her days basking in the sun. My sister-in-law would often visit to share parenting advice and take her out for walks. I, on the other hand, was buried in work at the office, overseeing projects and managing daily operations. Anything requiring a signature was sent to the chairman's office. One day, I was in a meeting, listening to a project update, when my phone rang with the special ringtone I'd set for Charlotte. I excused myself from the client, pointing to my phone to indicate it was the CEO. The client waved me on, and I stepped out to take the call. Hey, baby, what's up? I answered. It was my sister-in-law's voice on the other end, choked with sobs. Ethan, quick, get to Mount Sinai Hospital. Something's happened to Charlotte. I didn't ask what. I just said, meeting's over, and sprinted out of the conference room. At the elevator, I forced myself to calm down. It was a habit I'd cultivated over the years. When it came to Charlotte, I couldn't afford to panic. Panic leads to chaos. When I opened the door to Charlotte's hospital room, my parents and my brother and his wife were already there. My in-laws were on their way. Seeing Charlotte lying pale on the bed, I turned to my crying sister-in-law. What happened? My voice was terrifyingly calm. Your sister-in-law and Charlotte were crossing the street. A drunk driver ran a red light. At the last second, Charlotte pushed her out of the way. She was hit by the car. She only has scrapes, but my brother finished for her, as my sister-in-law could only whisper, I'm so sorry. But what? The baby's gone. We have to wait for the doctor for the details. A wave of relief washed over me. As long as Charlotte was okay, without any permanent injuries. I was devastated about the baby, but I had to be strong now. My sister-in-law moved toward me, looking like she was about to kneel. I caught her before she could. I knew she was drowning in guilt, but I also knew it wasn't her fault. Just then, a police officer came in to take a statement. I left my brother to handle it with one condition. No settlement, no compensation. The driver had to face the full consequences of the law. My brother nodded and led my sister-in-law away with the officer. I asked my parents to meet my in-laws at the door and to downplay the situation to avoid causing them too much distress. Now, it was just me and Charlotte in the room. I sat by her bed and took her hand. She opened her eyes, tears streaming down her face. I knew she had been pretending to be asleep, I knew her too well. Ethan, the baby's gone. I couldn't protect our baby. I'm so sorry. I wiped the tears from her eyes. Don't say that. The only thing that matters is that you're okay. We can always try again for another baby. I'm sure our baby wouldn't blame you. After all, their mom is a hero. Don't think too much. You're very weak right now. Just rest. I'll take care of everything. Okay? Charlotte nodded. I stroked her cheek, my heart aching. She nuzzled my hand before finally drifting into a real sleep. A short while later, my parents came in with my in-laws. My mother-in-law rushed forward, but I held up a hand to stop her. She just fell asleep. I whispered. She's fine. Just weak from the miscarriage. Could you please watch her for a bit? I'm going to talk to the doctor. My mother-in-law nodded. Her eyes filled with pain as she watched her daughter. I went out and found the doctor. After identifying myself, he explained, the miscarriage caused some minor damage to her uterus. It will be very difficult for her to conceive in the future. It's not impossible, but it will be a matter of luck. For now, she needs to rest and recover. No strenuous activity, and it would be best to abstain from intercourse for a while. After thanking the doctor, I returned to the room. Charlotte was still asleep, and my mother was comforting my mother-in-law. Feeling overwhelmed, I went up to the rooftop for a smoke. I found my brother there, consoling my sister-in-law, who was crying uncontrollably. I walked over, handed my brother a cigarette, and said calmly, Sis, don't cry. It's not your fault. I know if the roles were reversed, you would have done the same thing. If you really can't let it go, then you can help take care of Charlotte while she's in the hospital. I stayed with Charlotte at the hospital constantly. After a few days, I sent my sister-in-law home. She didn't want to leave at first, but I had my brother bring my niece, and that convinced her. Charlotte was a cooperative patient, and she soon learned about the low probability of future pregnancies. She acted strong and cheerful for my sake, but I knew she was secretly crying when she thought I wasn't looking. What a silly girl. Today, Charlotte was finally discharged. That night at home we had a massive fight. Charlotte, honey, you have to believe me. My heart belongs only to you. I was just playing around with him. I never meant for it to be serious. Forget it. It was over the moment you started choosing him over me, the moment you were in his arms without a thought for my feelings. Just sign the divorce papers. Let's give each other some dignity. Charlotte, no, honey, I won't sign. I know the baby in my belly is his, but my heart is yours. I can't live without you. All these years together, don't they mean? I cut her off abruptly. Stop. That's enough. I'm already feeling sick. What have you been watching lately? It turned out that while recovering in the hospital, Charlotte had gotten hooked on trashy romance novels on her phone. The plots were so bad they made her nauseous, so she insisted we act one out to truly experience the cringe. Evidently, her goal was achieved. Just thinking about that scene made my stomach churn. I sat on the sofa and took a sip of water to calm myself. Charlotte came running over and plopped down on my lap, wrapping her arms around my neck, her face a mask of confusion. Honey, do people like this really exist? These men and women. I wrapped my arms around her waist to help her get comfortable. What kind of men and women? You know, the main characters in these books. If they love each other so much, why do they break up? Why do they cheat? I thought about it carefully. Sweetheart, do they really love each other? I don't think so. As for why two people who are in love break up, one of them must be lying. He or she doesn't really love the other. And as for cheating, if there's no love, there's no loyalty. A moment of weakness? Can't let go of an old flame? Those are just excuses they use to chase a thrill. I continued, think about the stories you've read. The person who gets cheated on is always the one who gives everything, while the cheater is the one who takes everything. When the giver finally decides to leave, the taker suddenly can't handle it. That's when you get the scene we just acted out. The person who used to revolve around them is gone, and life isn't as comfortable anymore. Naturally, they start to remember all the good things. When two people are in love, the hardest part isn't falling in love. It's navigating all the little things that come after. Love is a two-way street. A relationship can only last if both people are considerate, understanding, and trusting of each other. Take us, for example. When I cook, you're right there helping. When I'm working, you sit quietly beside me. You hate the smell of smoke, but you always keep a pack of my favorite cigarettes in your purse for me. And so many other things. There are countless examples between us. We're always giving, always thinking of each other, always putting each other first. That's why we've never had a real fight. Every day, we love each other a little more than the day before. See? Charlotte rested her head on my chest, inhaling my scent. We'll always be like this, Ethan. The thing I'm most proud of is that I've always known you were my one and only. Where else would I find a husband this good? I'm not going to be foolish like those people in the novels. I stroked her hair. She curled up on my lap like a little kitten, and I felt a renewed, fierce determination to protect the person in my arms. The seasons changed, winter giving way to spring. In 1 week, it would be our 10th anniversary together. Since Charlotte's accident, we had been trying for another child, but with no luck. Still, we were patient. We knew it would happen eventually. This morning, Charlotte told me she had a surprise for me on our 7th wedding anniversary. I was excited. Her surprises were always my favorite. Under our combined efforts, Zhou Holdings had grown to become the second largest company after Eastman Enterprises. This was widely reported in the news, and Charlotte's status soared. I could finally settle into my role as a kept man. A little side note. I originally intended for this story to end here on a happy note, but I'm adding a little spice. The other man will not end well. At the office, lunchtime was approaching, and I was still negotiating a project with a client when Charlotte called. I apologized to the client, pointed to my phone, and mouthed, "The CEO." The client graciously told me to take the call. I stepped outside. "Hey baby, what's up?" I answered. "Honey, Dad wants us to have lunch with him. He said an old friend's son is back in the country, and he wants us to meet him. He also said he has something to discuss." "Okay, but I can't get away right now. Mr. Wang is still here. Why don't you go ahead, and I'll head over as soon as I'm done with him." "All right, but you have to be quick. Okay?" "I will. Be safe on your way." I hung up and went back into the meeting. It took another half hour to wrap things up. After politely declining Mr. Wang's lunch invitation, I rushed to the restaurant my father-in-law had chosen. I pushed open the door to the private room. My father-in-law was at the head of the table. To his left sat Charlotte, head down, scrolling on her phone. To his right was a man about my age, charming my father-in-law. Seeing me, Charlotte waved me over. "Quick, sit next to me." I sat down, and she leaned close, showing me a sweet little story on her phone, remarking how she'd finally found a good novel. I gently nudged her back upright and smiled at my father-in-law. "Dad." He nodded with a smile. "How's work going? This girl of mine couldn't even wait for you. Let me introduce you. This is the boy who used to live next door to us. He moved abroad with his parents when he was little and just came back. He and Charlotte used to play together. Back then, your mother-in-law and I were so busy with work. His family helped look after Charlotte a lot. Now that he's back, I was thinking of giving him a position at the company." I listened intently, but inside, I was thinking, so, the childhood friend is back? Just the other day, Charlotte was talking about the fated lover versus the childhood friend trope. And now it's happening to me? The way this guy was looking at Charlotte was all wrong. I needed to establish dominance. I extended my hand. "Hi, I'm Ethan Shaw, Charlotte's husband. I'm currently the CEO's assistant at the company." The man quickly shook my hand. "Ah, Mr. Shaw, hello. I'm Preston Cole, Charlotte's childhood friend. I can't believe Charlotte is married, and to her assistant, no less. What a shame. I was hoping I still had a chance. Charlotte. Really, marrying just anyone without waiting for me to come back. I blame myself. I should have come back years ago." Oh, this guy was testing my patience. Before I could even retort, Charlotte's icy voice cut through the air. "Why would my marriage have anything to do with you?" I couldn't wait. Not for a second. Our relationship was never so close that I couldn't get married without you here. And for the record, I didn't marry just anyone. If you've gotten so used to living abroad that you've forgotten how to speak to people respectfully, then our company has no place for a man of your stature. My father-in-law's expression darkened. The polite little boy he remembered had grown into a man with a sharp tongue. After Charlotte's takedown, I was still fuming. "Preston, you're mistaken. If you followed the news back home, you'd know we've been married for 7 years. Coming back a few years earlier wouldn't have made a difference." Preston, seeing the tide turn against him, quickly backpedaled. Sorry. That's not what I meant. I didn't mean to look down on you, Ethan. I've been abroad for so long. My way of speaking is a bit off. Uncle, Charlotte, Ethan, please don't take it personally. I was just curious how Charlotte ended up marrying an assistant. She deserved a better choice." Charlotte jumped in again before I could. "Oh, a better choice? Who? You? You say he's just an assistant?" She turned to her father. "Dad, starting tomorrow, You can hand the company over to your son-in-law. I'm going to be busy planning our anniversary celebration. I'm gathering all our important relatives because I have some big news to announce. My father-in-law's expression didn't change. Hearing that I was to become CEO was as casual to him as taking a sip of water. I haven't been involved in the company's business for a while now. Besides, with you as CEO, you're more of a figurehead anyway. It'll be more efficient with Ethan in charge. Hearing her own father call her a figurehead, Charlotte gritted her teeth. Fine, Dad. You and your overseas talent can take your time chatting. This figurehead and your son-in-law have things to do, so we'll be leaving. She emphasized the words figurehead and son-in-law, and without waiting for a reply, she grabbed my hand and pulled me out of the room. I shot my father-in-law a helpless look. Outside the restaurant, Charlotte was still fuming, puffed up like an angry toad. I stroked her head comfortingly. What's wrong? Mad about being called a figurehead? Your dad was just joking. Don't take it to heart. Come on. Let's find a place to eat. I'm starving. I hadn't even touched my chopsticks. And after a busy morning, I was genuinely hungry. Charlotte's face brightened. No matter what her mood was with others, she was always smiling with me. Let's go. Let's get some spicy Sichuan food. I can't have my husband starving. She pulled me toward a Sichuan restaurant across the street. Inside, after we ordered, Charlotte was still a bit down. I teased her. A few days ago, you were asking me who to choose between the fated love and the childhood friend. Well, here you are, faced with that very problem. Your childhood friend has appeared. What are you going to do? Charlotte grabbed my hand, her eyes resolute. Is that even a question? Of course, it's my dear husband. What is he? He comes in and insults you right off the bat. If it weren't for his mother helping to look after me when I was little, after the things he said today, I would have hired bodyguards to beat him to a pulp. As she spoke, her cheeks puffed up again. She looked so cute I couldn't resist reaching out and squeezing them. Seeing that I wasn't taking it seriously, she continued, if he really joins the company, don't go easy on him. If he dares to pull any of the stunts from those novels, I won't hesitate to send him on his way. Seeing the dark look in her eyes, I was taken aback. We'd been together for so long, and this was the first time I'd seen this side of her. She'd clearly been traumatized by those bad novels. My playful squeeze turned into a gentle pinch of her cheek. All right. If he really tries to ruin our relationship, you won't have to lift a finger. I'll take care of him. That's not something a lady should have to deal with. Then, I remembered something. You told your dad you're inviting relatives to the anniversary party to announce some big news? What's so important? At my question, Charlotte's cheerful demeanor returned. I trust you to handle him, and I certainly won't have anything to do with him. As for the big news, I told you it was a surprise. If I tell you now, it won't be a surprise anymore. I stroked her head lovingly and told her I'd leave it all to her. The food arrived, and after we ate, we headed back to the office. That afternoon, Charlotte made 2 announcements. The first was revealing my identity. Many people at the company didn't know we were married, so when they found out I was the CEO's husband, there was a collective aha moment. It explained why the CEO's assistant had so much power. The second announcement was that Charlotte had other matters to attend to, and I would be taking over as CEO. The employees, already aware of my capabilities and now my relationship with the former CEO, had no objections. My old college roommate, Leo Starr, began his career as my executive assistant. Leo was one of my best friends from college, a top student, and a great guy. I had offered him a job as my assistant before, but he'd refused after finding out I was an Eastman heir. He'd wanted to prove himself first, working his way up under me. When I moved to Zhou Holdings, I brought him with me. I clapped him on the shoulder. Work hard. When you're ready to lead, I'll support you, whether you want to start your own venture or head a project team here. Leo scratched his head with a grin. Don't worry, Ethan. I'll do my best. But even when I'm capable, I want to stay here working with you. That's where the future is. I just shook my head and smiled. After the announcements, Charlotte did a quick handover with me in the office and then happily skipped out. I didn't get home until almost 10 that night. It was Leo's first day as my assistant, and there was a lot I had to go over with him personally. When I got home, the downstairs was empty. In the bedroom, Charlotte was leaning against the headboard, scrolling on her phone. She saw me and urged me to go shower first. I came out of the bathroom and had just sat down on the bed when Charlotte plastered herself against me. What took you so long? Any later and these sheets would have spontaneously combusted. I had a lot to go over with Leo. That's why I'm late. But don't worry. I leaned in. The fireman is here to put out the fire. The next morning, I looked at Charlotte, still sleeping soundly. I got up, my back aching slightly, and went to get ready. Charlotte had been sleeping a lot lately. I figured it was because we'd been a bit unrestrained last night. I didn't think much of it and headed to the office. I had just walked into my office when Leo came in to report that someone was applying for a project manager position. I was confused. The company was fully staffed. We hadn't posted any job openings, and all our managers were promoted from within. We didn't do external hires for those roles. Leo explained that the applicant was recommended by the old chairman. A thought struck me. Could it be Preston? I had to respect my father-in-law's wishes. If the chairman sent him, we have to give him a chance. I instructed. Assign a few people to him and see what he's capable of. Leo nodded and left. I sat back in my chair, thinking, I didn't know how Preston had convinced my father-in-law, but it didn't matter. As long as he didn't cause trouble, I'd let it be. But just in case, I made a call to have someone look into Preston's background. I wanted to know what kind of person would come in so aggressively from the start. The person on the other end promised to have information in 3 days. On his first day, Preston was relatively quiet. I wasn't expecting him to contribute much. The company wasn't desperate for a single new hire. I just needed him not to make waves. When I got home, I told Charlotte that Preston had started at the company. She wasn't surprised. My father-in-law was a sentimental man. He wouldn't cut ties over a few harsh words. The next day, as I walked past the employee lounge, I overheard some gossip. Did you hear? Apparently, Mr. Shaw broke up Preston and Ms. Zhou to get where he is today. I heard that too. And that Preston came back to the country just for Ms. Zhou. Shouldn't you be working instead of spreading rumors? A manager stepped out from around the corner and scolded them. The group of young women scattered. I recognized him. He had been at our wedding and knew the truth. The only person who could be spreading these rumors was Preston. I had Leo post an announcement in the company-wide chat. Let's all welcome our new project manager, Preston Cole. Mr. Cole is a remarkable talent. Having moved to the United States for advanced studies at the age of 8 and only recently returned to the country. Let's all cooperate with him fully. The message sparked discussions in smaller group chats. He left the country at 8 and never came back? How could Ethan have broken them up? I never heard that Charlotte went abroad. This is clearly a baseless rumor. Exactly. I've heard from several senior managers that Ethan's background is very impressive, and that he and Charlotte have been together since college. If that's the case, there's only one person who could be spreading these rumors. What a snake. I almost fell for it and misunderstood Mr. Shaw. Even before his identity was revealed, I knew there was something special about Mr. Shaw and Ms. Zhou. I've seen her act all cold and distant in public, but a few times I've caught her being super sweet and playful with him in private. Oh, really? Tell us more. I wasn't aware of the chatter in the small groups. I was texting with Charlotte. She said she was coming to have lunch with me, and I happily agreed. But before my wife arrived, Preston walked into my office. He leaned over my desk, his hands planted firmly on the surface, looking down at me. Ethan, I don't care how you managed to get with Charlotte, you're nothing but a freeloader. I'm telling you, I came back for her. A fly wouldn't be attracted to an egg unless there was a crack. I'm better than you in every way. Charlotte will eventually fall in love with me. You should leave now while you still have some dignity. The one who isn't loved is the third wheel. Charlotte and I are the real couple. I had to laugh. He hadn't done any research before starting this drama. His brain wasn't much, but he'd certainly memorized the third wheel's playbook. I stood up and, without a moment's hesitation, slapped him hard across the face. He stumbled and fell to the ground, looking at me in disbelief. I walked over and looked down at him contemptuously. A crack in the egg? Did you find one before you came buzzing around? I sneered. And the one who isn't loved is the third wheel? Do you even qualify to be a third wheel? You say you and Charlotte are the real couple? Do you even know what makes a couple? Here, let me explain it to you. I pulled out my phone, found the Instagram post where Charlotte and I announced our engagement, and shoved it in his face. See the rings on our hands? I gave her that ring when I proposed and she gave me mine. You know what that means? It means we chose each other, we love each other. We're a couple. And look at these pictures. From our wedding. See the smiles on our parents' faces? You should have heard the cheers from our friends. You know how I felt then? Like I just won a war. You know what that means? It means we are a couple recognized and celebrated by our families and friends. And this? I said, pulling up a photo of our marriage license. Recognize these words. Marriage certificate. Mine and Charlotte's. Stamped and certified by the state. You know what that means? It means we are a legally married couple. Recognized by the law. I crouched down, staring him straight in the eye. Charlotte and I are a couple recognized by the law, by our community, and by each other. You say you and she are the real couple? In what dream world? You think you can just say a few words and negate our 10 years of history? Your pathetic fantasy is worthless in the face of our marriage. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I slapped him again. Hard. Just then, I heard a noise behind me. I turned to see Charlotte standing at the door, arms crossed, watching us. Seeing her, Preston scrambled to his feet and ran to her. Charlotte, look at your wonderful husband. I was just telling him about our childhood. And he got angry and slapped me twice. You can't be with a man like this. You have to divorce him. Charlotte instinctively took a step back as he approached. Hearing his words, I had to laugh. This was a golden opportunity. Charlotte had taught me this move at that company party, and I hadn't had a chance to use it yet. I stepped forward, pushed Preston away from Charlotte, and then said sarcastically, Preston, your victim act is a bit amateur. Here, let me show you how it's done. I immediately put on a wounded expression, walked over to Charlotte, and started shaking her hand. Baby, Preston just called me a freeloader. I told him I wasn't, and he started hitting my hand with his face. Look, it's all red. Charlotte almost burst out laughing, but her professional training kicked in. She turned my hand over, her voice full of gentle concern. Let me see. Oh, it is red. You silly boy. Next time someone says something mean, you should just ignore it. Look what happened. She cooed. You let him bully you. Preston's jaw dropped at our exchange. He had no idea the depths of our chemistry. This was just the beginning. I put on an even more pitiful face, crouching down to hug her legs. Okay, I'll listen to you, baby. I just couldn't help it. I'm not as amazing as Preston. I don't have his money or his education. I'm just trying so hard to better myself. But all I have is this pretty face. Sigh. Charlotte played along. There. As long as you're a good boy, I'll make sure you're well-fed and happy. Really? I asked. More certain than gold. Then I'll be a good boy. I held out my hand, my voice a whiny falsetto. Rich lady, hungry, want food. Charlotte said, all right, and pulled a black credit card from her purse. This is my supplementary card. Spend whatever you want. I looked at the card, my mouth twitching slightly. She was going to support me with my own money? Well, Preston didn't know that. This would drive him crazy. I took the card and stood up, planting a kiss on Charlotte's cheek. Thank you, baby. You're the best. Preston couldn't take it anymore. He stepped closer to Charlotte, his face a mask of agony. Charlotte, why are you degrading yourself like this? With your status, you could have any man you want. Why are you keeping a guy like this? Look at me. What do I lack that he has? You've disappointed me so much. Charlotte looked like she was about to slap him, but I quickly grabbed her hand. I didn't want her to dirty it. Restrained, Charlotte settled for a verbal assault. Look at you. What kind of trash are you? Insulting my husband over and over again. You're the one who spread those rumors in the company, aren't you? I've already sent people to gather evidence. Maliciously slandering others. I wonder what consequences you'll face. You say I'm degrading myself by keeping him? Go search all of New York, no, all of America, and find someone who would dare to call the heir of Shaw Industries, the second son of Eastman Enterprises, a freeloader. This is something I'm proud of, and you say I'm degrading myself? Are you out of your mind? Or am I? Preston stared at Charlotte's murderous expression, and upon hearing I was the heir to Shaw Industries, he froze, then his face contorted with rage. You're playing me? You just wait. He turned to leave, but I blocked his path. Remember this. It doesn't matter if the fly intended to land on the egg or not, or if it even touched it. A fly is still a fly, and when it gets caught, I don't think I need to explain the consequences. I hope this is the last time I see you. Otherwise, I tapped my temple. He turned and fled without another word. After Preston was gone, the ice in Charlotte's expression melted. You were so commanding in there just now, Ethan. I was genuinely moved. Huh? So you heard everything? I was just telling the truth. I heard it all. I arrived right after he went into your office. I didn't come in because I wanted to see what he was up to, but your acting skills were an even bigger surprise. I bowed my head humbly. You flatter me, my lady. I was taught by the best. We decided to go out for lunch. Now that she was no longer CEO, Charlotte didn't bother with her cold facade at the office, openly laughing and joking with me. After lunch, we went home. Charlotte said she was tired and went to take a nap. I had a pretty good idea what Charlotte's surprise was. She probably didn't know her own body as well as I did. My phone rang. I checked the number and stepped outside to answer it. Boss, I have the information you wanted. I've sent it to your email. You should probably be on your guard. Oh, that was fast. Ahem, well, the person you're investigating has quite a track record overseas. It wasn't hard to find. You can see the details for yourself. Let me know if you need anything else. I hung up, opened my laptop, and started reading Preston's file. Whoa, this guy was something else. Preston had moved abroad with his parents at 8. At 17, he started gambling with the wrong crowd. The stakes got higher, and when his allowance wasn't enough, he took out loans from loan sharks. When his family found out, his father, though well off, gave him a beating before paying off his debts. But not long after, he got into drugs and started gambling again. His family's business ran into trouble, cutting off his financial support. He used his good looks to latch onto a wealthy older woman, but she grew tired of him after a while. Desperate for cash to fund his lifestyle, he started seeing several other rich women. When they all found out about each other, they teamed up to take him down. In a panic, he stole a significant amount of money from them and fled. After he ran, his parents suffered the consequences. Their already struggling business was crushed by the pressure from the women's families, and they ended up bankrupt and homeless. Later, Preston saw a news report about the success of Zhou Holdings, recognized it as his old neighbor's company, and rushed back, hoping to use Charlotte to solve his problems. In his haste, he didn't do any research and contacted my father-in-law, which led to yesterday's drama. He had no idea Charlotte was married, let alone to someone he couldn't afford to offend. He was probably about to do something desperate. The end of the file noted that the U.S. authorities had already filed the paperwork for his extradition and were preparing for a cross-border arrest. The next day, I didn't go to the office. I was at the mall with Charlotte. As we passed a baby store, I instinctively started to turn toward it. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw a man in a baseball cap and a mask charging at us with a knife. He was shouting, "If I can't be happy, neither can you. Let's all die together." Seeing the crazed look in his eyes, I instantly pulled Charlotte behind me and delivered a powerful front kick to his stomach. The force sent him flying backward, the knife clattering to the ground. Letting go of Charlotte, I rushed forward and landed a few more kicks for good measure. One kick knocked off his hat, revealing his identity. Preston. I backed away, my hands up. "Everyone's a witness." I called out to the surrounding crowd. This was self-defense. "You all saw him attack us, right?" The crowd murmured in agreement, and someone said they had already called the police. Preston, lying on the ground, tried to push himself up. A figure flashed past me. It was Charlotte. Seeing it was Preston, she had come closer. When she saw him trying to get up, she ran forward and gave him a few kicks of her own. Preston collapsed again. She then mimicked my earlier pose, addressing the crowd. "You all saw that, right?" He was about to attack again. I was acting in self-defense. "Please be my witness." The onlookers nodded, slightly stunned. I rushed over, placing one hand on her back and the other protectively over her stomach. Charlotte was about to boast about her takedown when she noticed my gesture. Her face softened with a look of fond exasperation. "You just can't be fooled, can you? You figured it out. I wanted to surprise you. Humph, couldn't you have just pretended for once? Let me have my moment of triumph." I scratched my head sheepishly. "I was pretending, I swear. That was just an instinctive reaction. How about you pretend you didn't see it?" Charlotte sighed. "How did you know? I've been carrying the ultrasound picture with me this whole time, just so you wouldn't find it and ruin the surprise. How long has it been since your last period? You think I wouldn't know? Seeing you so calm and talking about a surprise, I just put 2 and 2 together. Come on. Tell me, how many months?" "All right, you win. It's been over a month. Honey, you're going to be a dad again. Let's keep it a secret for now and surprise our parents later." "Okay. Whatever you want." As we were talking, the police arrived and took a handcuffed Preston away. "Sir, ma'am, we need you to come with us to give a statement." After we finished at the station, we saw Preston being transferred to another vehicle. He saw us. I just pointed at my head again, a silent warning. I took Charlotte home, and we spent the evening looking up pregnancy tips. The next night, I received a text from an international number. "Mission accomplished," followed by a news link. I clicked on it, and Charlotte leaned over my shoulder to read with me. The article reported a gang shootout in a U.S. city. After a 10-minute firefight, there was only one casualty. The deceased was identified as Preston Cole, an American citizen of Chinese descent and a fugitive. He had been fleeing when he accidentally ran into the crossfire and was hit by multiple stray bullets, dying at the scene. After reading, Charlotte kissed me. "Good riddance," she said. "If it weren't for the laws in this country, he would have been on the news without having to go back to the States." She then went back to scrolling on her phone, picking out baby clothes. 9 months later, in the delivery room, I cut the umbilical cords of our 2 children myself. Charlotte had given me twins, a boy and a girl. I helped her sit up, and we looked at the 2 babies in their bassinets. "You did it, Mama," I whispered. "Thank you." Charlotte's eyes were soft as she looked at our children, her voice weak. "It was all worth it. Papa let the others in. They must be going crazy out there." I gently helped Charlotte lie back down and went to open the door. Our parents, my brother, and my sister-in-law were pacing anxiously. When they saw me, they rushed forward, but I motioned for the doctors and nurses to leave first. "How is she? Boy or girl? Is Charlotte okay?" "Quiet. Quiet. Come in. But be quiet. The babies are sleeping." They tiptoed in like thieves. Seeing the 2 little ones, they couldn't contain their excitement. They had known we were having twins for months, ever since Charlotte announced her pregnancy at her birthday party. My mother and mother-in-law had moved in with us to take care of her around the clock. They had even checked her into this private maternity hospital a month early. The director, seeing who we were, had assigned us the best doctors and nurses and cordoned off half a floor for our exclusive use, complete with 24/7 security. Seeing that mother and babies were safe, they were overjoyed, showering Charlotte with praise. 25 years later, our son, Ethan Jr., had taken over Shaw Industries, and our daughter Lily was the CEO of Zhou Holdings. My wife, Charlotte, and I were sitting in a Ferris wheel, holding each other like a newlywed couple. Charlotte looked at me with adoration. "Honey, you are my chosen one, my only one. Falling in love with you was the best thing that ever happened to me." "Me too." Epilogue. Charlotte's story. My name is Charlotte Zhou, and I am the only daughter of the Zhou family of New York. Because of my looks, I had many suitors, but I also have severe misophobia. I can't stand people getting close to me. So, in college, I adopted a keep-away attitude, which helped a lot. The first time I saw Ethan Shaw was during the freshman orientation speech. Looking at his sunny smile and handsome face, I felt an unfamiliar urge to get closer to him. Later, at a dorm mixer, I wasn't going to go, but when I heard Ethan would be there, I inexplicably agreed. At the karaoke bar, I was uncomfortable. After we entered the private room, my roommates abandoned me. It was Ethan who invited me to sit down. Sitting next to him, the closest I'd ever been to him, I didn't feel the usual urge to pull away. I found myself staring at him, and when he noticed, I was so embarrassed. He could tell I disliked the place and suggested we wait outside. I agreed. In the coffee shop, he wiped my chair for me. When I sat down, I intentionally brushed my hand against his. He didn't notice, but I did. My misophobia had no reaction to him. I think I already liked him then. Later, we exchanged numbers and started going out for meals. Or maybe, dates, is a better word. I asked him if he was trying to win me over. He said yes, and I told him to try hard. With anyone else, I would have rejected them on the spot, but I couldn't bring myself to reject him. He thoughtfully noticed my trouble with my hair and started carrying a hair tie for me whenever we ate. Just before winter, his roommate sent me a video of Ethan seriously practicing how to style hair into a bun. A few days before break, I asked him out for the first time, even bringing 2 of my high school friends to help set the scene. The result was perfect. He had learned to do my hair just for me. On our way back, he confessed his feelings. I said yes, but it felt too rushed, so I gave him a probationary period. When I got home, I immediately went out and bought a diamond ring. The next time he proposed, he would put his ring on my finger, and I wanted to put one on his. I knew that love had to be mutual. I could feel Ethan's sincerity, and I wouldn't let him down. On my birthday, I thought he'd forgotten. Instead, he gave me a huge surprise and proposed again. I accepted, and we exchanged rings. That night, I gave myself to him. I'm not a casual person. Giving myself to him was a decision I made after careful consideration. He was worthy of my trust. Later, we met each other's parents and resolved the last of our secrets. After our wedding and honeymoon, I overheard his phone call with his father. From then on, I loved to secretly watch him. Every time I eavesdropped or spied, I discovered a new side of him, and I loved every single one. At a company gala, his witty deflection of another woman's advances almost made me laugh out loud. Then I had the car accident. We lost our baby. I was heartbroken, but I didn't want him to worry. More than anything, I felt guilty for not protecting our child. But I noticed he became even more attentive than before. No matter what he was doing, if I called out, "Honey," he would be by my side in an instant. Whether he was cooking, brushing his teeth, or even fast asleep, I could call his name, and he would wake up immediately, his eyes bleary, asking me what was wrong. He would always play along with my whims. When I got sick of a trashy novel, he'd act out the cringy scenes with me. When I asked him why people in love break up, he answered me patiently. When I asked him how to choose between a faded love and a childhood friend, he said it depended on the situation. 2 weeks before our 7th anniversary, my period was late. I secretly went to the hospital and found out I was pregnant. I was overjoyed and planned to surprise him on our anniversary. But then, my childhood neighbor returned. He insulted my husband the moment they met. I was furious. I wanted to strangle him, and later he died. I knew my husband had arranged it. He was the Prince of New York, after all. He wasn't going to let just anyone provoke him. During that time, I also overheard my husband's powerful declaration that we were a couple recognized by the law, the people, and by each other. His possessive words filled me with a deep sense of satisfaction. My husband also figured out I was pregnant. He had all the sharp corners in our house rounded. Afraid I'd bump into them, he had the entire house carpeted, except for the bathrooms and kitchen, so I wouldn't slip. He was so thoughtful. On my birthday, I announced my pregnancy to all our relatives. Everyone was ecstatic. My mother and mother-in-law moved in with us that very day. From then on, I was chauffeured everywhere in a fleet of cars, with several bodyguards protecting me at all times. I protested, but the entire family overruled me. Finally, the babies were born. After they were placed in their bassinets, my husband stayed by my side, constantly asking if I was okay. While our families were cooing over the babies, he was with me. That's when I knew that no one held a more important place in his heart than I did. As the children grew, whenever we had a difference of opinion about them, he was always the first to yield. In fact, it wasn't just about the children. Since we first fell in love, in any disagreement, he was always the first to back down. I asked him about it once. He said, "We're partners, not enemies. What's wrong with giving in a little?" After our children took over the companies, we retired. We traveled the world together, just like we did on our honeymoon. So, in this life, falling in love with my husband was the best thing that ever happened to me. The end.